Everyone, I'm Zachary.
And I'm Garrett, and we are the two lead consultants at EOS Experiential Consulting.
Our goal is to ignite positive change in your experiential programming. And today, I've got a really cool article for us to talk about. It's all about the Linden Waldorf School. Have you heard of them?
I just did, thanks to this article. Never
It's
heard of them
really,
before. Really wish I could have gone to a school like this.
can you imagine? I know our school was very much in the classroom. We had like a field day
Mm.
once a year. It sounds like these guys have a field day literally all the time.
Yeah, and we did the exact same thing, the field day thing. I had one teacher who one day he got like way too stuffy in the classroom, and he went, "We're gonna go for a walk," and we all just like walked around the campus, and it was my favorite day. So getting to do that every day would be insane. Why don't you tell them what the article, what happened with the Waldorf school?
Yeah. So obviously, everything kind of changed last year, right? And we kind of saw a whole new shift in classes when we had to pretty much cancel schools. I know here in Virginia, we sent all the kids home for the year. We really thought they'd go home for like a week, and they ended up being gone for the rest of the year and coming back in sort of a hybrid format, right? So,
Yeah.
of course, there was tons of funds from the government. And with that, people had two different options on where they wanted to go with it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was insane when stuff started to close down. My wife, who's a teacher, came home in tears, and she knew whatever they might have told the parents. I have no idea, but she said it's done the whole rest of the year, and that's all we thought it was going to be the rest of the year. But and then to come back and learn, no, now we got to go hybrid, where we're
Right.
going to see some students and then others, and she as a teacher is going to have to teach the same lesson twice every other day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just crazy, and to see this solution was such an insane thing. So to let y'all know, what they did is this school had massive pavilions made outside. How many? It was like 8.
Yeah. I'll pop them up on the screen right now so you can see them.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. They were made with nature in mind, and this school is very very particular. They for nature based education, like it's what they seem to be all about. And I mean, like the stools are what, like logs. The
Oh
whole
yeah.
thing's made of wood, and there's very little metal involved at all, which is beautiful to look at, functional. And they
Right.
even made it in mind. I remember reading that like everyone was specifically social distanced, no matter
Sure. Yeah.
where
I
they
mean,
were
you can
sitting.
tell if you look at it right here. There's at least 6 feet between each of these benches, and it's an open concept, right? So
Yeah.
it's very much part of the complex. I know when they were designing it, making it feel like it was a part of nature was a huge part of what they wanted to
Hmm.
do because they have a beautiful campus already, right? With tons of outdoor trails, and they were already doing outdoor programming, but
Yeah.
now they literally have outdoor classrooms, which is so cool to see.
Exactly.
And personally, I think this is going to be the future, right?
I would hope that it can be the future. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the more people we get, the larger schools become. That they keep thinking, we need to expand, we need to lay more concrete, we need to put more walls up. And I think this is a much healthier way to go about expansion.
Right.
There's no reason for like teachers not to be able to rotate. Like, okay, we're inside for 2 days, outside for 2 days,
Sure.
and to do that kind of thing.
What I thought was interesting is, we talk about the funds that they were able to get, right? We know businesses got PPP loans, schools, industries got the same. Here in Virginia, that meant every kid pretty much got a laptop and they
Yep.
take those home, right? So they take them home, they get damaged, not an efficient use of your funds, right? Also, we have seen the negative side effects of virtual only schooling, right? I know my nephew was really struggling with it, right? My niece was able to go back because they went to different schools, and it was really beneficial for her. He lost a lot of that. And we know that's the social components is such a big part of your formal education, right? So to be able to take those hybrid models, which are really kind of a band aid here, right? And
Oh,
switch it over to these pavilions, which are lasting infrastructure that the school now has as an asset. That's much more sustainable long term, right? It's engaging, it keeps everybody there. You get the social, you get that.
mhm.
Um, and then as long as you can modify it, I mean, they're in Tennessee, right? So they're going to get cold. How do they negate those? How do they find temporary solutions to still make it hospitable at different times of the year, I think would be one of my big questions.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yeah, I was thinking one of my bigger questions too would be like, what do inner city schools do? Some people who are literally landlocked, how can they make that jump to allowing more nature into their education? I don't have an answer for that. I don't. But coming back to, there in Tennessee, it's cold. There's no reason, you can't, that hell, the same company who did this can't
Mhm.
put up some sort of like vinyl blinds that can come down and create temporary, from chilling winds and things like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Big stand, space heaters, those kinds of
I
things.
think I read they even used like straw bales at certain times of the year, right? So they were able to make like a wind block.
Oh, that's
I think
super
that was one
cool.
of their goals that they wanted to introduce as well.
That's a great idea. I don't remember reading that in the article. That's a fantastic idea. One of the things I really loved, and you had already mentioned it, they already had several trails and several other like nature-based programs and things like that. But they wanted, when they were building these, I remember reading that they wanted them to integrate into what they were already teaching and what they already had, you know? And so like the trails or the stepping stones and things like that to these pavilions themselves were also educational. Like, I mean, like there was something about like orienteering, right? That
Mhm.
these stones could be
Oh yeah.
used to help educate in with orienteering and things like that. And I just thought that was so cool because of the all inclusive education. Every single piece of what we did is a lesson in itself.
Right.
And I love that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean we've led orienteering programs before, right? And you don't have to have um, a mountain, right? You don't have to have
Right.
100 acres of woods for people to go out and get lost in. You can teach orienteering programs in a parking lot with multiple different points, right? And then you can apply those fundamental skills
Yep.
to larger scenarios. And I think incorporating these kind of touch points, these keystone flags, giant 8 pavilions that they could go to would be so amazing for me as an educator to be able to incorporate that into my orienteering program, right?
Yeah, I can absolutely see, you know, these kind of challenges that you can offer up after you've taught the lesson a time or two, and now this group's challenge is going to be to make it to this pavilion, use these skills. I think that's awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's just to me, it's interesting that they were able to take this um, really difficult situation,
Yeah.
right, and take an opportunity, what may have been the kind of the easier way out, the less risky way out, right? And that's what we talk all the time with our clients is how do we not just survive, but how do we thrive during this era, right?
Right.
And it feels like this school took a risk. They calculated it, right? And said, okay, with these partners, with this support system, and maybe it was easier because they were already doing nature-based programming as part of their school curriculum. Maybe they had the staff on site with expertise. They obviously went to a really good firm. I mean, 6 weeks is not a very long turnaround. That's really quick. So they had support from the community, I'm sure, for
Incredible.
that. But also able to kind of take that risk. And now these students have been benefiting, right? I mean, you said your wife, right, is a teacher, and I'm sure a lot of her students are struggling. My niece and nephew are struggling. We've seen that from a lot of the guests at our different client institutions. And I'm sure that these students are thriving in this time because they've had this new opportunity.
Oh, I don't see a way that they couldn't be, with everything that they put in place. And guys, they're not being, unsafe about it either. Yeah, I'm sure they're still wearing masks, but that was a big portion of it is the safety aspect of it. They installed several sinks in every single one of these pavilions just to maintain.
Hand washing stations.
Exactly, exactly.
And that's easy to do outside, right? You get a portable sink, you get a hose running to it,
Yep.
you hook it up to hot water, and you're set. I think that is um, a really cool opportunity to make a safe space that's functional, right? And that's always we know in any sort of
Yeah.
outdoor facilities. How do you make it functional, and how do you make it transferable, right? It can't only be used for a math class. How do we make it also usable for an English class or history class or even an art class, right? That's the tough part. And it sounds like they've done that here, which is so cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that every step of the way, they considered what the school truly wanted.
Mhm.
I think you had said his name before we started recording. Who was the one who's in charge of the company
Yeah, yeah, it's Jared Bradley.
and what the company that actually built these pavilions? What was that?
Yeah, is the Bradley projects. Yeah, he's the
And,
principal guy.
and it's that they sound like an amazing institution just to
Right.
be able to really consider and
Yeah, yeah.
achieve what this school wanted is a major feat.
Well, I checked out some of their other work, and a lot of their work. I mean, Tennessee is a very progressive in the big cities, and that's what they've done. They've done a lot of progressive, eco-friendly builds in different communities, whether it's big high-rises or condos. They're building them into the environments, into the mountains, into the waterways, and not only is it's beautiful aesthetically, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very relaxing, but also it's super functional, it's super efficient, and you see, cost long term lower down. And same idea here, right? They may not be fiscal costs, but this school is going to see cost to their students' mental health, cost to any of these other number of factors that may be affecting their students get lowered because of this sort of, you know, project, which is just so cool.
Well, I mean, to bring it back over to hybrid and the fact that this school never had to go hybrid thanks to these decisions is
Mm-hmm.
the most major factor.
Right.
Like I said, my wife, a teacher who has been struggling with her students. They just won't do the computer work. None of them are willing to do the computer work.
Sure.
And yeah, sometimes, especially the younger you get, the harder I'm sure it is.
Right.
You're asking an 11, 12-year old to have enough responsibility to actually get on and check this computer every day, every other day. I know I wouldn't have. No way. No way.
Right. Well, we're seeing adults struggle with that, right? Work from
Yeah,
home has
absolutely.
been one
Oh
of the
man.
biggest concerns for employers, I think, for the past decade or so, as that's become more of an option. And I think a lot of employees have thrived in that situation, but I think a lot would say that they've struggled with it, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
that's where we're going here. Is this sort of passive education is just so much more engaging, right? It's experiential in and of itself. And then when you get a teacher out there teaching a set curriculum that embraces outdoor learning, I think
Right.
it's going to be super successful. I'd love to chat with one of the teachers and see how they've
Oh
discovered, some of the nuances go with this project.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, that would be incredible. Give me your pros and cons of your experiences with
sure.
this. I would
Yeah.
love to hear that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to make people do computer work. No
It
way.
is.
But that's kind of something that we've seen a lot. Yeah, people struggle to do it, but once you make it happen, it's
Right.
not undoable. It's not
Sure.
something that we've noticed, you and I, how many times a computer can really bring your lessons to bring your experience to another level.
For
Stuff
sure.
you literally can't do. We can go to Mars on a computer. We can't do that now.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, right? This doesn't negate the benefits of virtual education, right? Virtual learning. We both said a million times, we think that's going to be a big component in the future, right?
Right.
Work from home, virtual, these learning pods that have popped up. But I think we also have to think about the socio-economic factors that are in play when it comes to virtual learning, the availability for everybody, right? There was a lot of funding because it was such a jarring opportunity, right? So there was a lot of funding last year for virtual, and Zoom did some amazing things, and Whiteboard did some amazing things. But I think we got to consider how other school districts won't be able to embrace that, right?
Yeah.
Now, Linden Waldorf had a really cool opportunity because they were already embracing this, right? They were sort of ahead of the curve. So their curve went pretty smoothly.
Right.
How do we bring this to other schools, right? What can they do? Do we have any ideas for them on, if you're, like you said, an inner city school, or if you're in a Title I area, right? How do you create an opportunity for your students to embrace when you don't have this giant pavilion on a 12-acre campus, right?
Man, me in my first impressions, because I can't think of a way to get a classroom or a school that's 2,000 students, right? To
Yeah,
have
there's
outside.
130 here, so it's a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
To
And so like my first impression would be to like almost put it on, not put it on the student to do it, but put an option to do this, right? So like they have to write this essay or something like that. There's nothing stopping you from getting it, putting your piece of paper on a clipboard and going and sitting behind it, like on a tree to write your essay. You know what I mean? To encourage your students to get out when they can do it. Maybe you can't do it right here, but I still want nature to be a part of your learning. So on your own time, I want you to write this essay outside. I want you to do your homework in this particular place, that kind of thing. Maybe, you particularly the teacher know, like there's this beautiful stream. We've got a national forest right near us. Maybe that kind of thing. That would be my first impression.
Yeah. It's so funny that I would think we both start the teacher, right? Everybody thinks the teacher, the educator, the formal instructor, the professor has authority on where they're going, right?
Right.
No, that's not true, right? We know at the end of the day, it's the administration, right? And sometimes the administration's held to a school board or held to even, at the end of the day, a community, right? Community feedback's important. So I think if you're looking to make this sort of positive change in your school, you have no better opportunity than these parents who have been stuck at home with their kids for the last 12 months and are ready to get them out, right? We did virtual camps last year. Parents are just looking to offload their kids because it's wearing and tearing on them when they have deadlines that they typically would be at a brick and mortar office, right, at their home office now, right? It's difficult to maintain when you've got a little 5-year-old running in during your Zoom call, during your meeting, during your presentation, during your sales pitch, right? So I think this is an opportunity for the administration to use that as a leverage point to say, hey, we need to provide opportunities for our learners to get back to a safe and meaningful learning opportunity. And we can do that with these outdoor classrooms. We can do that with a pavilion, 2 pavilions, right? Even just a giant field with a couple pods set up, right? Yeah. This is the time. This is the leverage point. If there's ever been one, to say, hey, let's make this positive change. Like we said, the short-term hybrid model versus the long-term sustainable pavilions cost are about the same, right? And which one's going to be able to provide meaningful assets to your school, to your camp, to your institution, right?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome point. To be able to leverage and use that, to use the way you felt for so long to be able to attempt to influence.
Teachers have been saying this forever, right? This is not new. Yeah. They know kids buy in more when they're having fun, when they're outdoor, when they're in the sunshine.
Always. One of my favorite experiences with outdoor education personally was when I was in college. There was this particular professor. Everybody knew this guy brings his classrooms like once a week outside all the time. And he spread throughout the campus like fire once he started doing that. Everyone wanted to be in his class, to do something different, to get out. And we didn't have pavilions in college. We didn't have these huge things. We just went and sat in the field. Sure. And it was awesome because most of our stuff was discussion based. There's nothing stopping you from just going and sitting in a circle and discussing at any point.
Sure. Yeah. You sort of create that grassroots passion for it.
Yeah.
And that grassroots experience. The data is already there. The data shows that kids thrive in these situations, right? They don't thrive packed in to 30-person classrooms, right?
Right.
With minimal windows, minimal sun, right? They thrive when they have nature-based learning opportunities. So I don't know. I just thought it'd be really cool to share this article with you. I thought it was a really insightful opportunity that not only this construction firm taken, we'll drop their links down below, and what the school's done, we'll drop their links down below, and even just the article for you guys to review. Because I think it's really the next opportunity for experiential learning to permeate itself into core curriculum, right? As a conservation educator, I've said forever that I'm fighting an uphill battle until conservation becomes a core subject, right? Yeah. And this is an opportunity for experiential education to find its way into the norm, right? We talk all the time, formal, informal educator. We've got formal educators in informal education. We've got informal educators in formal education, and they're both thriving. So let's blend the two. Let's bring them together and see, the success that can happen from it.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is an absolutely wonderful goal and idea. And yeah, man, thanks for finding the article. It was an awesome read. It really made me realize how much I wanted that as a kid, how much I wanted that. I was the kid who always went, oh my God, can I have a tree house? And my dad would be like, we have nothing but pine trees. There's no way we can have a real tree house.
Right.
You know?
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, we'll catch up again soon. All right. I'll
Yep.
talk to you later.
Absolutely, Zach.
See you, Garrett.
Hey guys, thanks for engaging with us today. If you want to continue this discussion, tell us about a time that nature improved your education experience in the comments below. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and we'll see you next week.